Okay, so as the title alludes to, we have health, melee, grenade, super, class, and weapons. So we got 6 stats with armor 3.0, and we have some old armor, obviously, which I'm kind of phasing out as we go, and replacing it with the new stuff. So yeah, I do feel like everything has been sunset again, even though you can still lean into certain stats with the old armor. But as far as weapons go, I mean, especially you start getting into the higher tiers, the weapons are going to start getting replaced as well. If it's better than what we already have. So I'm testing out, especially the scout rifle. So, all right. Six stats, 6 builds. So my plan is, because I was looking online, looking for guides on which stats I should lean into in terms of build crafting, and people seem to be all over the place. Obviously, it tends to lean towards what you are, what you're building around, which stat you're building around, which exotic weapon and armor piece, exotic armor piece you're using. So it felt like I was, it was a little all over the place. Some people were saying health is no good. Some people are saying you want to lean into health. Some people are saying go melee, grenades. Some people are saying lean into weapons. Some people are saying the complete opposite. So it's all over the place. So for me, I feel like there are some things that are strong or too strong in the game right now. So I fully expect Bungie to tweak or nerf certain builds because they're being used too much, especially on the solar side. So my idea at this point, since I'm still pretty low in terms of power, I'm getting a lot of drops, right? But I don't have enough room to keep everything. Now I know this is going to sound kind of weird, but you see how you have the melee is at plus 30, right? So what I'm going to do, especially when I hit 200, it's going to be a little easier to do this, but the principle is to have a plus 30 piece of armor for every stat. So for helmets, it's going to have plus 30 for health, melee, grenades, super, class, weapons, right? So at least one of these, like this is a plus 30 in weapons. This is a plus 29 in health. This one's a plus 28 with the grenade. So excluding the exotic armor pieces, right? Just the legendary, I'm going to have 6 of these, and each one is going to have a plus 30 ideally in one of the 6 stats, right? So if and when I need to change or to, alternate my armor pieces, something like that, I'm going to have a piece of armor that fits into every category. I think that Bungie's probably gonna buff class because I don't see a lot of people using it. So once they buff the stat, and I'm just anticipating this, I haven't heard anything, but once they buff the class stat, all of a sudden people are gonna shift to build crafting around the class stat, right? They're not doing that right now because I'm hearing that it's pretty weak, and I haven't seen anyone really at all use the class stat at all. I'm seeing a lot of melee, a lot of grenade, a lot of super, and then you have some people leaning into weapons along with health. So it just depends on what you're playing. So again, it just goes back to, I would like to have one piece of gear that measures in each stat. So that goes for helmets, the gauntlets, chest, leg, the class item, and only legendary. I'm not looking at, obviously I'm not looking at all of the exotics, because most of them I don't use. They're just sitting in my vault. So as far as exotic armor, I got a lot of stuff in my vault. So if I use the armor piece a lot, then I will probably have something for grenades, something for super, and it also depends on what the armor piece does. Then I'll lean into that particular stat that would need it the most. But other than that, like if it's flat like this, then that's something that's not going to be any use to me, because it's just way too flat. So I would get rid of this one. But yeah, I have too many. Like this one has plus 20 with grenade. I'm only gonna focus on the primary. So whichever is the highest stat within that particular, with that armor piece, that's the category that I'm gonna put it under. So this one's gonna be under grenade, because that's the highest stat on here. This one's plus 20 with weapons, so I'll put that under that category. This for sure is grenade at plus 30, which means that the other four armor pieces that are legendary that I include with this helmet, they're all going to lean into grenade. So if I can have this at plus 30, which is the exotic helmet, and then the four pieces below it also leaning into grenade, then my grenade stat is going to be 150. And then the other stats, the secondary and then the third tier and everything, that's just going to fall where it's going to fall. But I really do want to make sure that the primary stat on all of these, I'm going to have the other four pieces below it are included with it. They're going to lean into that primary stat as well. This one's for class, which I'll keep it. I'll definitely keep it. And see how these two are leaning into class, like class is their primary. Like if I have a plus 31, or this one without the masterwork is plus 29, and then this one is also, the primary is class, but it's only 20. Gosh, that might be better. But that's what I'm going to be comparing. Like if I have 2 or 3 of these, like I've got 3, they're all leaning into class, I'm going to pick the best one, including the masterwork stats. So if I masterwork this, that class stat is going to be 32 compared to 31. And then if the primary is class, my secondary is always going to be grenade, because that's my second, or that's my favorite stat of all of them is grenade. So if the primary is class or the primary is melee, I'm going to look at what the grenade stat is when I'm comparing these, to see, to get as much grenade energy out of it as I possibly can. And again, I'm getting mixed reviews on how important health is, so I'm gonna put that in there, probably as in the third category as far as priority. But yeah, so that's how my comparisons are gonna go. This one is pretty balanced. 22 health, 22 grenade, class is 19. So yeah, this can either go under health or grenade. The other thing I don't know is how the exotic that's from this season, that's with the armor 3.0, is that going to be better? Or are they in tiers? Because I have one of these. Hold on. See, this is an armor 3.0 Fallen Sunstar, right? And it's masterworked. So now looking at this, you can compare the stats, compare it to the old one. But if you use the old one that's not specifically 3.0 with the exotics, I don't think it's going to hurt you any. So if you look across the board, and let me get back to it. Here it is. It's better in health, melee, grenade, super, class. The only thing it's not better in is weapons. So basically, I would keep this one, the one that's only 10 power, I would keep it and put it with other armor pieces that their priority or their main stat is grenade or health, since it's got high stat numbers in both of those. But if I'm trying to lean towards weapons as a primary, then I wouldn't be able to use this one. But this one, I would definitely keep it. And then these three, I would just keep the one that has the best class stat, because all of these, their priority is the class stat. So I don't need all three of those. But anyway, I'm gonna go in here, and it's the same thing for all of these armor pieces. Like looking at what's their primary. And also if I use it, if it's something that I don't use very much, like this one, it says powered melee kills and finishers grant invisibility and healing, so I would want to lean into melee on this piece of armor. So I would be looking at, okay, what's the highest melee stat that I can get on here? This one is a little meh. I mean, it does have the plus 22 grenade, but it's a little bit, well, it's more like a grenade class. Weapons is 3, and then it throws in 10 points for super. So that's the other thing too, is like the new armor, the third priority for the stat, it's got 10 points. But on the old armor, you would have the fourth priority stat have 10 points on it, because this one they threw 10 points on super. So yeah, I think as far as how the armor drops in terms of stats, I think with the old armor, you could get 4. You would have 4 levels of stats that would have something. But on the new armor, the armor 3.0, you only get 3 levels of stats that have numbers on them. And even on health and melee on this one, you still got 2 points. So I definitely wouldn't throw or dismantle the old exotic stuff. Now, as far as the legendary, that's a little bit tougher to keep the old stuff. I mean, it just is. It's tougher to keep the old stuff. Yeah, you would have to have, especially if it's something like this that's not very good. You know, compared to what I have on too. It's like these aren't really good. And then I do think with the legendary armor too is that you would get, like, this is for Warlock, the Ego Talon 4s. I don't know if I want to keep it, or because this would lean towards health as the first stat, the first priority, and then there's class, and then it has well, actually it has health, grenade, class, and then it's got 11 points of melee. So that's what I'm saying. You get 4 stats that have, you know, double digit numbers, and I've got 2 on here that's above 20, that's plus 20. So it's like you would get more, I guess this would be closer to a probably like a tier 4, tier 5 from Armor 3.0, but I'm not sure about that, because right now I think the highest legendary piece or armor piece I have is like a 2, maybe a 3, and this one's really bad. So again, just I'll have to go through here, any duplicates I have, compare the 2 of them. Yeah, this leans towards health, grenade and weapons. Health and grenade are tied. And class is not that far behind, and then they threw a little bit on weapons. So yeah, it's a little bit of a, this one is health, grenade, weapons. That's not bad. Health and grenade are tied. Wow. And then they threw a little bit on melee. So I would be able to use this one for health or grenade. As far as the main stat I'd be focusing on, this one's weapons for sure. Yeah, this one's not great. I could lean into grenade. Like, I would push this to 28. Oh, it won't let me. Do I have to do this one? There we go. Yeah, I could do it like that. And lean heavy into grenade. And then 12 on class and health, which is kind of a throwaway melee. Same thing at plus 6. A couple points on super and weapons. And then there's the bonds. This is going to be more difficult because not only are you looking at the stats for these, but you're looking at the perk combinations. So I'm going to have to not only... I'm going to see if I have the same perk combinations somewhere, like duplicate perk combinations, and then figure out which one, like compare the priority stats between those. And that's going to take a little bit of time to do. But yeah, that's my idea. So ideally, I will be able to switch out my gear depending on what stat I'm leaning into for that particular build. So I always want to have something ready. And then of course there's going to be instances where you mix and match certain builds. So maybe you have two pieces that prioritize weapons, and then you have two pieces that prioritize grenade, something like that. But that's down the road. I'm just going to give myself an option of always having a piece in every slot that has an high, plus 30 has a high plus 30 stat. So it's gonna end up looking like I'll have one here, and then I'll always have 5 legendaries here, and then each one is gonna, like I said, prioritize one of the 6 stats. And then every time I get a new drop, like if I get a super that's plus 30 and I've got one that's plus 29, I'll get rid of the plus 29 and keep the one that's plus 30 with the super. And I'll do that, and then you have to go by tiers as well. So it's going to be a lot of shuffling here until I get to, like, I don't know, tier 3, or maybe if I hit tier 4. But that's my idea for that one.